What do you remember about your school's sex education program? Was it an elementary program meant to educate you in the simplest terms? Or was it a middle school program meant to scare you away from any experimentation? Or did the scene in Mean Girls, the health class one, the don't have sex because you will get pregnant and die scene, hit a little too close to home for your high school experience? We rely, in our formative years, on those more experienced than us to teach us practically everything. Specifically, we rely on them for education on human sexuality, and this happens through sexual education in schools. There are two main types. The most common one is abstinence only, and the one gaining much more traction in recent years is called comprehensive sex education. I have done many years of research on this. Basically, since the time I was in 8th grade, I found an issue with the abstinence only system as a whole, so I decided to research it. Most recently, my sophomore through senior years of high school, I did a 3-year capstone project on this topic, including changing the curriculum in Fairfax County with one that I had written myself. In this speech, I intend to persuade you on the necessity to switch to a comprehensive sex education system, and I intend to do that by addressing these two main points. We'll be taking a look at the disadvantages of abstinence-only sex education and the benefits of comprehensive sex education. To do this, we must first turn our attention to the most traditional, strictest method of sex education found in the United States, and that is abstinence only. Abstinence only, according to Chris Collins in his 2002 book, focuses exclusively on the risks associated with premarital sex and encourages students to stay away until they are at least adults, and in most cases, until they are married. That is called abstinence only until marriage. Now, there are several problems with this. Perhaps the most notable is that, according to the Journal of Adolescent Health in a 2017 report, it fails to do that. Look at this Guttmacher Institute graph, taken from an article written by Jessica Boyer in 2020. The rates of adolescents and teenagers, the ages of their first sexual encounter, seem to be getting younger and younger. Now, in a perfect abstinence-only world, this wouldn't be happening, which shows there's clearly a disconnect in the fear-related approach. Now, the Journal of Adolescent Health claims that this is because the fear, it was almost a reverse psychology response in them. The second big problem with this is that there is little knowledge of contraceptives and STD prevention taught in abstinence only, leaving higher rates of pregnancy and STDs. And that is taken from a report, Abstinence Only Sex Ed is a Failure, in 2017. The second major problem with abstinence-only sex education is that it leaves out LGBTQ students and reinforces gender stereotypes. In 2004, Representative Henry Waxman released a report where he studied 13 abstinence-only sex ed programs. He found that 11 of them had curricula that reinforced gender stereotypes, that sought to undermine female achievements through history, paint women as weak and in need of protection, and promote sexual and physical aggression in men. So, Bonnie J. Ruff, a researcher and a reporter, in her 2018 Atlantic article, revealed that less than half of the states in the United States require sexuality education in the first place, and of those, 6 of those states require not only excluding LGBTQ students, but actually shedding a negative light on homosexuality. And not only that, but there is little to no regulation on accuracy, both scientific, medical, and ethical accuracy. And that is from Planned Parenthood in 2016. Now that we have examined the faults of abstinence-only sex education, it's time to look at the alternative. So Patricia Drew, in her 2020 article called Sex Education, Comprehensive, she highlights that comprehensive sex education only seeks to fully teach about human sexuality, including all social, physiological, and psychological aspects. Researchers Stadman and Rajani in 2002 released that American statistics, as of 2002 of course, indicate that by the end of high school, 2/3 of Americans are sexually active, with 1 in 5 of them having 4 or more sexual encounters. Now, that's 20% of the American population. Those numbers are actually consistent, according to the researchers, with numbers in other countries, but in other countries, specifically the ones with comprehensive sex education, that number is similar, but the rate of teen pregnancy in teens with sexually transmitted diseases is considerably lower. Now, in Bonnie J. Russ's 2018 book, Beyond Birds and Bees, she shows positive effects of comprehensive sex education, specifically lower teen pregnancy rates, higher sense of self, higher self-worth, less assault. Basically, there was a marked increase in even the mental health of students in the Dutch education system when they implemented comprehensive sex education. The failures of abstinence-only sex education have harmed generations of students, leaving one thing very clear: the system needs a complete overhaul. Behaviorists urge that attempting to dissuade teens from sexual experimentation is not only ineffective, but incredibly damaging, as it leaves them ill-equipped to handle real-life issues, such as setting boundaries and consent. I want to leave you today with a quote from activist Elizabeth Smart, who was kidnapped at the age of 14 in 2002, and has since become a very outspoken critic of the abstinence-only sex education system. This quote shows just how deeply it can hurt survivors, especially of sexual assault. Imagine you have a beautiful crystal vase. Side note, this is something that her teachers actually told her. Other analogies were used for a chewed up wad of gum. Then, back to quote, then imagine that you accidentally knock it off the table and it shatters into pieces. We all understand that it wasn't the vase's fault, but still, it is broken. It is worthless. That is how I felt. It wasn't my fault that I was broken, but I was broken. No one would want me anymore. Thank you.